All right, ready to dive in. Today, we're tackling drilling machine operators.
A role that's a lot more complex than people might think.
Definitely. We're talking high-tech stuff.
Yeah.
Computer-controlled machinery, multi-pointed cutting tools, the whole 9 yards. We're going to look at this career from all angles using a few sources we've got. A career guide to get us started, an interview guide packed with questions to help you nail that interview, and then we'll even touch on RoleCatcher's AI.
Yeah, how it can give you an edge in this job market.
Exactly. So consider this your ultimate prep kit for landing that drilling machine operator job.
And from what we see in the career guide, it's a pretty good career to be in right now.
That's right. High demand, skilled trade, lots of opportunity out there. So let's jump right in. Imagine this. You're sitting in the interview room facing the hiring manager.
What kind of questions do you think they're going to throw your way?
Well, the interview guide gives us 10 sample questions to work with. Let's start with this one. What inspired you to become a drilling machine operator?
Seems simple enough, right? But it's all about showing genuine interest.
Yeah, the interview guide says they're looking for enthusiasm.
Exactly. It's your chance to stand out, show that you're not just there for a paycheck.
So, what should someone say? What's a good approach?
Well, think about what drew you to this field. Is it the precision? The problem-solving aspect?
Yeah, or maybe you've seen these machines in action and been fascinated by them.
Right. Maybe you've always liked working with your hands, building things. Whatever it is, make it personal. Show them why you're genuinely excited about this. And hey, here's a tip from the interview guide. Stay away from those generic responses.
Like machines.
Exactly. That's not going to cut it. You got to be more specific, show some personality. Now, this is where RoleCatcher can be super helpful.
Oh yeah, their AI can really come into play here.
Absolutely. You can actually upload your CV to RoleCatcher, and their AI compares it to the job description.
So it's like having a robot recruiter doing the work for you.
In a way, yeah. But it's super smart. It'll point out any skills you might be missing or areas where you could beef up your experience descriptions.
Interesting. So let's say the job posting emphasizes problem-solving skills.
And maybe your CV doesn't showcase that very strongly.
RoleCatcher would flag that.
Absolutely. It would give you that heads up so you could maybe weave a relevant anecdote into your answer.
Smart. Okay, let's move on to another question.
Yeah.
What about this one? What are some common drilling machine operations that you have experience with? So this one's getting a bit more technical.
Definitely. This is where they want to see what you know. They're assessing your practical knowledge.
So don't just say drilling and leave it at that.
Nope. List the specific machines you've operated, the types of drilling operations you've performed. If you've worked with lathes, milling machines, grinders, mention them.
The interview guide also mentions being ready for follow-up questions.
Oh, absolutely. They might ask you to describe a complex drilling operation you've done, the challenges you faced.
So they want to know you can handle the tough stuff.
Exactly. And the interview guide emphasizes using specific examples. That makes your answers way more impactful.
All right, let's shift gears a bit to safety. Super important in this line of work.
Absolutely crucial. They'll want to know about your safety know-how.
Right. So here's the question. What safety procedures do you follow when operating drilling machines?
Now, don't just recite a memorized list of rules here. They want to see that you understand the why behind the safety procedures.
Yeah, the interview guide says it's about demonstrating a commitment to safety.
Exactly. So mention specific procedures like lockout, tagout. Explain why it's so crucial to completely de-energize a machine before doing any maintenance. Talk about personal protective equipment.
Like gloves, safety glasses, hearing protection, that stuff's not optional.
Nope, definitely not. And be ready for those behavioral questions.
Oh, you mean those tell me about a time questions?
Exactly. They might ask you about a time you identified a potential safety hazard and what you did about it.
Okay, so let's say you're using RoleCatcher to prep for this interview.
You can actually practice answering these tough questions right within the platform.
And what's cool is their AI gives you feedback on your answers, suggests improvements.
Yep. Even tailors them to the specific job you're applying for. So it's like having a personal coach right in your pocket. All right, let's move on to another technical question. How do you ensure that drilling machines operate at optimal efficiency?
Okay, so they're not just looking for someone who can turn the machine on and off. They want someone who understands how to keep it running smoothly.
You got it. This question is about showing that you're proactive, that you care about efficiency.
So what are some things you should highlight in your answer?
Routine maintenance is a big one. Talk about lubrication, checking fluid levels, inspecting belts and bearings.
Yeah, don't forget troubleshooting. Things break down, you got to know how to fix them.
Absolutely. The interview guide suggests being ready for a question like, what steps do you take when a machine starts to underperform?
They want to hear about your process.
Exactly. How do you identify the root cause? Consult manuals or colleagues? And ultimately, how do you implement a solution?
It's all about showing that you can think on your feet.
Okay, let's tackle this one. It digs a little deeper into your experience. Have you ever encountered a problem while operating a drilling machine? How did you solve it?
Oh, this is a classic, that tell me about a time you messed up question. It could be nerve-wracking.
But the interview guide actually encourages you to embrace these questions. They're a chance to show that you learn from your mistakes.
Okay, so what's the best way to handle this one?
Be honest, for starters. Don't try to hide the problem, but focus on what you did to solve it.
Yeah, walk them through your thought process.
Exactly. Did you consult a manual? Collaborate with a colleague? The key is to show that you're resourceful and you can overcome challenges.
Makes sense. And the interview guide says specific examples are really helpful here.
Absolutely. Give them concrete details. It paints a much clearer picture of your abilities.
All right, let's switch gears again and talk about compliance and regulations. Always a big deal in any professional setting.
Definitely. You got to know the rules of the game.
Right. So here's a typical question. How do you ensure that drilling operations are carried out in compliance with regulations and standards?
This one's all about showcasing your professionalism. They want to know that you take the rules seriously.
The interview guide stresses demonstrating meticulousness.
You got it. So talk about specific regulations and standards that you're familiar with. If you're familiar with OSHA regulations, for example, mention them.
Yeah, and explain how you apply those regulations in your day-to-day work.
Exactly. Don't just rattle off a list. Show them that you understand the why behind the rules.
And I might even ask about specific situations. Like, have you ever had to stop a colleague from doing something that wasn't in compliance?
Right. They want to see that you're not afraid to speak up and do the right thing. Okay, now let's talk about challenging work environments. Some drilling operations take place in remote locations, maybe even offshore.
Yeah, definitely not your typical office setting. So how do you prepare for a question like, what experience do you have with drilling in challenging environments, such as offshore or remote locations?
Well, if you have experience in those kinds of environments, definitely highlight it.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. But what if you don't have that specific experience?
Even then, you can still demonstrate adaptability. Talk about times when you had to adjust to new situations, learn quickly, work independently. Maybe you worked on a tight deadline or had to deal with unexpected equipment failures.
So you're showing that you can handle pressure and think on your feet.
Exactly. And this is where RoleCatcher can be helpful again. Its AI can analyze the job description, identify keywords related to the work environment.
So if the job involves working offshore, RoleCatcher will flag that.
Absolutely. It'll give you that heads up so you can tailor your answers accordingly.
Awesome. Okay, let's move on to another essential aspect of any job: teamwork and communication.
Absolutely. You got to be able to work effectively with others.
So how would you approach a question like, how do you maintain effective communication with team members during drilling operations?
Focus on clear, concise communication.
The interview guide says they're looking for active listening skills, too. It's not just about talking. It's about truly understanding your team members.
You got it. And be ready for those "tell me about a time" questions again. They might ask about a time you had to resolve a conflict or misunderstanding within your team.
Okay, so think of a specific example where you had to navigate a tricky situation with a colleague.
Exactly. And focus on your approach. How did you handle the situation? Did you use open communication? Did you try to find a solution that benefited everyone involved?
All right, let's tackle a question that looks at the bigger picture: budget and scheduling.
Yeah, keeping projects on track is important in any industry.
So how do you handle a question like, how do you ensure that drilling operations are carried out within budget and on schedule?
This is where you showcase your organizational and planning skills. Talk about how you track expenses, monitor progress against milestones.
The interview guide also mentions using specific tools and techniques.
Yeah, like project management software or Gantt charts, anything that demonstrates your understanding of staying on track and within budget.
Okay, one last question for this deep dive. What experience do you have with drilling in unconventional reservoirs, such as shale or tight formations?
So this is getting into some more specialized territory. They're looking for a deeper level of expertise.
So if you have experience with these types of drilling operations, go into detail.
Share specific examples, demonstrate your knowledge.
But what if your experience doesn't directly align with unconventional reservoirs?
You can still highlight your adaptability and your willingness to learn. Talk about your experience with advanced drilling techniques, your understanding of geological formations.
And don't forget to mention how RoleCatcher can help you identify any skills gaps.
Mm-hmm.
It can recommend training programs or certifications you might want to pursue.
Exactly. It's all about showcasing your commitment to growth and development in this field.
We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of the deep dive. We've tackled some tough interview questions, looked at strategies for crafting great answers, and even gotten a glimpse of how RoleCatcher can give you that extra edge.
Absolutely. But hold on tight because there's so much more to explore. All right, welcome back. We just went through a ton of interview questions, but landing that job, that's just the beginning, right?
Exactly. It's a stepping stone.
Yeah.
So what comes after you get hired? What does moving up the ladder look like for drilling machine operators?
Well, one thing the career guide really stresses is continuous learning.
Makes sense. It's a tech-driven field. Things are always changing.
Exactly. New technologies, techniques popping up all the time. You can't just rest on your laurels.
So how do you actually do that? Keep learning, I mean.
Remember those industry forums and publications we mentioned?
Yeah, great resources.
They're gold. You can connect with other professionals, see what the latest trends are, even share some of your own knowledge.
So it's like a two-way street. You learn and contribute as you go.
Exactly. And don't forget about conferences and workshops.
Oh yeah, those can be great.
See new equipment in action, hear from the leaders in the field, make some connections. Okay, but let's talk career paths. What are some actual roles you can move into as a drilling machine operator?
Yeah, where can this job take you?
Well, the career guide mentions a few options. One common path is moving into a supervisory role.
So you'd be leading a team of operators, making sure everything runs smoothly.
Exactly. Strong communication, leadership skills, those become really important.
So if you like mentoring others, taking on more responsibility, that could be a good fit. Any other paths?
Another one is specializing in CNC programming.
CNC programming.
You're basically creating the code that tells the drilling machine what to do.
Wow, so you're like the brains behind the machine.
In a way, yeah, it's all about precision, controlling every movement.
Sounds pretty technical. What skills would you need for that?
Strong math skills, definitely. Geometry, understanding tooling, computer programming languages, all that comes into play.
So there are paths for people who like leading and paths for those who are more technically inclined.
You got it.
But how do you even know which path is right for you?
That's where some self-reflection comes in. Think about what you're good at, what you enjoy doing, where you see yourself in the long run.
What about RoleCatcher? Does their AI help with this kind of thing?
Oh, yeah, definitely. RoleCatcher has a feature called Career Compass, I think. It can actually map out potential career paths based on your profile.
So it's like personalized career advice.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's constantly updated with the latest industry data, job market trends, all that.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, let's play a little game here. Imagine yourself 5 years down the line. You've landed that drilling machine operator job, got some experience under your belt, and now you're thinking about the next step.
Okay, I like it.
What skills are you focusing on developing to prepare for that future?
That's a good question. I think communication skills are huge no matter what path you take. Whether you're leading a team or explaining technical stuff to clients, you got to be able to communicate clearly.
Absolutely. And I'd add problem solving to that list.
For sure. The more complex the machines, the more important it becomes to be able to troubleshoot, think critically.
And don't forget about those continuous learning habits we talked about.
Can't stress that enough. Technology's always evolving. Got to stay adaptable.
Okay, so let's bring RoleCatcher back into the picture.
Yeah.
How can their AI actually help you with this career progression, skill development stuff?
Well, on top of analyzing your CV and giving you feedback on your answers, RoleCatcher also recommends training courses, certifications, even mentorship opportunities.
Wow, so it's like a personalized career coach.
Pretty much. It helps you stay on top of things, make smart choices about your career.
All right, so we've talked technical skills, soft skills, even how to leverage AI. But there's something else that can really make a difference.
Your mindset.
You got it. Having a positive attitude, wanting to learn, not being afraid of challenges, that's huge.
Absolutely. It's what pushes you forward.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey. There are tons of resources out there, communities, organizations.
Don't be afraid to reach out, connect with people.
We've covered a lot in this part of the deep dive. Career paths, skills, mindset. Welcome back. We've covered a ton of ground in this deep dive, really explored what it takes to become a drilling machine operator. From nailing those interview questions to mapping out your career path, we've looked at it all. But now it's time to bring in the big guns.
The secret weapon that can make all the difference.
You guessed it, RoleCatcher's AI. We've hinted at it throughout this episode, but let's really break down how this thing can help you stand out and land that dream job.
So picture this. You spend hours perfecting your CV for a drilling machine operator position you're really excited about. You upload it to RoleCatcher, and their AI gets to work. It compares your skills and experience to the job description, every little detail.
So it's like having a robotic headhunter scrutinizing your CV.
Kind of, yeah. But it's way more precise and a lot faster than any human. And it doesn't just tell you what's missing. It gives you specific recommendations on how to improve your CV.
Like what?
It might suggest adding certain skills, emphasizing keywords, even provide you with better wording for your experience descriptions.
Wow, so it's like having a professional CV writer at your fingertips.
Exactly. But it goes even further. Remember all those tough interview questions we talked about?
Yeah, those were pretty intense.
RoleCatcher's AI can help you prep for those too.
No way, how? Does it, give you a script?
Not at all. It's more about personalized guidance. You practice answering common questions right there in the platform, and the AI analyzes your responses.
Interesting.
It tells you if you're being clear, if you're hitting the right points, even suggests ways to weave in those keywords from the job description.
So it's like a virtual interview coach.
Exactly. And here's the kicker. RoleCatcher has this feature called Get Discovered. If you opt in, employers looking specifically for drilling machine operators can actually find you.
So instead of you chasing jobs, the jobs come to you.
That's the idea. It's about maximizing your visibility, getting your profile in front of the right people.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener? It means you're not just absorbing information. You're gaining a real advantage. You're learning how to leverage cutting-edge AI to boost your chances of landing that drilling machine operator job.
We've given you the knowledge, the strategies, and now the tools. It's time to put it all into action.
Don't forget, this isn't a finish line. It's a starting point. Keep learning, developing your skills, and stay passionate about this field. That's what will really drive your success.
Couldn't have done it better myself. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.